أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله وآله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وينفعنا بما علمتنا وزدنا علما والحمد لله على كل حال. Today marks 7 nights of Ramadan that we've completed. 8? 7 Tarawih, no? 8? 7 Tarawih. We started on Friday, no? Oh, ماشي. I guess I'm bad with math. 8 Tarawihs. So we gotta ask ourselves, have we accomplished or going to accomplish, bi'idhnillah, the purpose of fasting, the purpose of Ramadan? And so I'll open the floor. What is the purpose of fasting? And, yesterday, if you were at the khutbah, our beloved Dr. Omar mentioned the ayah, the evidence for what the purpose of fasting is. What's the ayah? Anybody else? MashaAllah. I would give you something, but we're all fasting. So yeah. يا أيها الذين آمنوا كتب عليكم الصيام كما كتب على الذين من قبلكم لعلكم تتقون. O you who believed, we have prescribed and we have ordained upon you and we made obligatory upon you fasting, the same way we made it obligatory on the people before you. And so you have to pause there. That taqwa, is that what fasting is about? Yani, why didn't Allah say لعلكم تفلحون or لعلكم تؤمنون لعلكم تذكرون? Specifically taqwa. And not only is it just fasting, but you see also what's the purpose of Allah creating us? What's the aim? Yeah, so وَمَا خَلَقْتُ الْجِنَّ وَالْإِنسِ إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُونَ. That Allah didn't create us and jinn kind except that we worship Him. And that's the only reason we were created. And so now we have to ask, okay, that's our whole purpose of life. Why ibadah? How do we attain, the fruits of ibadah? That's also a question. There's a ayah in Surah Al-Baqarah as well, towards the end. Ya ayyuhan nas. The question is, what's the purpose of obedience? So we established that obedience is the whole reason we're even created to begin with. What's the purpose of obedience? What does Allah say? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. He's saying that, O people, يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اتَّقُوا يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسُ اعْبُدُوا رَبَّكُمْ. O people, worship your Lord, and those worship your Lord who created you and the people before you. Why? لَعَلَّكُمْ تَتَّقُونَ. Again, taqwa. So that not only is a fasting, but it's worship altogether. That's why we worship Him. It's for taqwa. And then we mentioned also that the obedience, worship, is the whole reason He created us to begin with. And so again, What is this taqwa that Allah keeps mentioning, keeps mentioning, keeps mentioning? And then even, during the sermons, during the khutbah, you hear over and over again, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu taqullaha haqqa tuqatih wa la tamutunna illa wa antum muslimun. Ya ayyuha an-nasu taqu rabbakum, right? And then again, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu taqullaha wa la taqullaha haqqa tuqatih, right? So there's taqwa and taqwa and taqwa always being mentioned. So what is this taqwa? That's what we're trying to establish tonight, inshallah. And so the ulama, they define taqwa as أن تجعل بينك وبين ما حرم الله حجابا وحاجزا. That you put a barrier between you and what Allah has made haram. Because then you're protecting yourself and you're also understanding that there's boundaries that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has put. And that I'm going to take action to make sure I don't even get close to those things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is displeased with. And He's made forbidden for us. And so this is what the ulama specifically say is taqwa. The companions, they describe taqwa, and it's broken down into 4 categories, 4 qualities. The first one is al-khawfu min al-jalil, that you fear the Almighty. And this is the definition as in the khutbah yesterday. Everybody puts to taqwa. Al-khawfu min al-jalil. And do you truly fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Do you truly have this fear in your hearts of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is capable of? That's taqwa. The second is وَالْعَمَلُ بِالتَّنْزِيلِ. That we fear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So what does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tell us so that way we may not earn His wrath and rather earn His pleasure, so that way we could take action on those things? And so what al-amal bit-tanzil means is the implementation, the action of what's been revealed, what's been brought down. The Quran, the Sunnah. Are we acting the way Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to act? So that's the second. The third is وَالْقَنَاعَةُ بِالْقَلِيلِ وَالرِّضَى بِالْقَلِيلِ. That you're pleased with whatever you have, whether it be a little or a lot. Whatever has been written for you is being content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained and the qadr that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made for you. And that putting this in your mind will help you achieve this level of taqwa. And we even see that one of the pillars of Iman is the belief of qadra, that whatever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has ordained is what you're going to get. And so how do you balance that with perhaps what you want, or perhaps what your nafs wants? And it goes also hand in hand with what Umar Abul Khair is going into in our Taraweeh sessions about the Tazkiyatun Nafs. Are you able to have that mindset shift where your heart is sound and is content with what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you? And you genuinely ask that question to yourself. And the fourth thing that the companions say is والاستعداء ليوم الرحيل. والاستعداد ليوم الرحيل. That you look forward to and you're preparing for the day where you'll be held to account. The hereafter. That you purify yourself and you make that hereafter your final and the highest goal possible. And you think about your goals in life. Where is the akhirah in your mind? Where does it rank in my priorities? Are the goals and objectives that I have derivatives are going to take me to that akhirah? Right? And this also goes and ties into every single goal that you have. You should make the intention that this is for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And with that mindset, you'll get rewarded for every single thing, every single action that you do. And fasting in itself, it cultivates all of these things. That when we feel hunger and when we feel thirsty, we develop this khawf, this fear. We develop this understanding that even in private, even behind closed doors, even in the darkest of nights, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees us. And so developing that khawf and that understanding is one way, one of the crucial parts of attaining that taqwa. And by fasting, as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded, that's al-amal bit-tanzil. That was revealed. And when you heard it, you took action upon that. And سمعنا وأطعنا. That we heard, O Allah, your command, and we're going to act upon it. And when we break our fast, or when we had suhoor, a few dates and water, we embody that qana'ah, that we're content. We also understand the reality of the world itself. That this thing that you might be eating to humble yourself is what a lot of people eat on the daily. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, in all 9 of his houses for months, had nothing but dates and water. The Rasul sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And we have these challenges. Oh, let me try to have just a date today and some water. And these are people's lives, and this is what they actually go through every single day. And then as we try to control our desires, our nafs, we attain that ista'dad, that longing, that preparation liyawm al-rahil, for the day that we will be resurrected. That you are taking those actions to weaken those desires, to take control of those desires. Why? So that way you may attain Jannah. And so we've talked about taqwa for a little bit and what taqwa is. Very shortly, I'm going to talk about the fruits and the benefits of taqwa. And what can I get out of this taqwa? And taqwa, it provides a way out of difficulty. And again, I'll open the floor. What's the ayah? Yeah. Yeah. وَمَن يَتَّقِ اللَّهِ, what is it? يَجْعَلْ لَهُمْ مَخْرَجًا وَيَرْزُقْهُمْ مِنْ حَيْثُ لَا يَحْتَسِبُ. That whoever has taqwa of Allah, He will make a way out for him and provide for him in ways that he would have never imagined. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is guaranteeing you, Allah, that if you have taqwa in Him, He will make a way out for you in a situation that you think you can't get out. That perhaps my rent is due today, or perhaps I have to put food on the table and I only have one job. How am I going to get this money? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying, I will make a way out for you. I will provide for you in ways you don't even imagine. And the second is that with taqwa, you attain knowledge. And again, I'll open the floor. Yeah. Wattaqullah. Yusuf, you're enough for today, inshallah. Wattaqullah yu'allimukumullah. That if you have fear in Allah, Allah will increase you in knowledge. And without knowledge, we're lost. Right? And if we don't have the understanding, the knowledge of what's halal and what's haram, then how are we supposed to navigate through life? How are we supposed to understand and raise our family in the way that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to raise our family? How are you going to be the leader of your family when you yourself don't even know what's right and what's wrong? And so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is saying, if you want that, do what? Attain that taqwa. And thirdly, taqwa grants clarity and distinction between truth and falsehood, which we just mentioned. And what's the ayah for that? Thank you. That if you have taqwa, Allah will give you this furqan, this criterion. And a name for the Quran actually is Al-Furqan. That the Furqan will grant us this compass that we need in our lives. And how do we get that compass? You know how important a compass is to a person that doesn't know the direction, that is in the middle of nowhere? Or the Bedouin that looks at the stars to see which way to go? Without it, they're lost. They might as well not have their legs. They might as well not have their head. They don't know where to go, whether to go right or whether to go left. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, if you want this furqan, attain that taqwa. And I'll close off with the last advice of Imam al-Shafi'i's father. And it was on his deathbed, he was getting older. And Imam al-Shafi'i used to ask him, what do you want? What do you want? And this is recorded in Imam al-Dhahabi's Siyar A'lam al-Nubul. He's asking his father, what are your last requests so I am able to complete them for you? And so Imam al-Shafi'i brings water to his father, so that way he may do wudu, perform wudu, and so that way he may pray. And his father told him to lead him in his prayer. And after that, Imam al-Shafi'i kept asking, my father, what do you want? Do you need something that I may bring it to you? And he said, my only desire is Jannah. My only desire is Jannah. And he left them with this final message. He says, Ya ibni, alayka bit-taqwa. Oh my son, Ya bunay, alayka bit-taqwa. That, oh my son, for you is taqwa. Oh my son, hold fast to taqwa. Hold fast to taqwa. فَإِنَّهَا مِفْتَاحٌ. Because it's a key. It's the key. It's the key to what? لِلنَّجَاحِ فِي الدُّنْيَا وَالْآخِرَةِ. That it's the key to success in this world and in the hereafter. And this also mirrors what the Prophet ﷺ said. He says, اتقوا الله حيثم. Yes. حيثم ما كنت. حيثم كنت. That اتق الله حيثما كنت. That have this taqwa of Allah wherever you are. Wherever you are. And so that's what he left us off with. So taqwa is the ultimate goal of fasting, our worship, and life in itself. It's what protects us in this dunya and bi'idhnillah saves us in the next. And so the fasting person experiences it in his actions by obeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, even in private, purifying his heart and increasing in his reliance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And so as we fast, ask ourselves, are we developing taqwa? And now we learned this stuff. Are we developing taqwa? Are we now placing or going to place barriers between us and what Allah made haram? What is displeasing to Allah? That we're going to stay away from this. And we're going to put something in between us that will for sure make sure it doesn't happen. And are we becoming more conscious of Allah in all aspects of our life? So may Allah make us from the muttaqeen and grants us the fruits of taqwa in this life and the hereafter. Inshallah, tomorrow we're going to talk about, we learned about taqwa, we learned about the fruits of taqwa. Tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to talk about the sifat and the character traits and how to be a muttaqi, somebody is upon taqwa, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.